Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech, and in this video, I'll be unboxing this Redmi Note 8 Pro. Now this is the latest phone from Redmi in the under 20,000 rupees price segment and the latest phone in the Pro series. And as usual, it's gonna be the best selling phone from Redmi in this price segment. Now this phone is available in 3 variants. Base variant is priced at 15,000 rupees for 6GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. Next variant is priced at 16,000 rupees for 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Final variant is priced at 18,000 rupees for 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. You can buy it online on Amazon.in and mi.com, and you can also buy it offline in Mi Homes and in Xiaomi's official partnered stores. Now this phone is available in 3 colors: Shadow Black, Gunma Green and Halo White. And we have the black color with us with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. So guys, that's the basic information about the phone. Now let's have a quick physical overview of this box. On the front, this is how the box packaging or the design looks like. It looks pretty similar to some of the recent Redmi phones that we have unboxed, so there's nothing new. And at the bottom, it boasts about that 64 megapixel camera. And on the left side and on the right side, we have the phone's name, that's Redmi Note 8 Pro, and it even says Alexa built in. Now on the back side, we have some of the highlighting features, mainly that 64 megapixel camera followed by a 20 megapixel selfie camera. Next, it even has a Helio G90T processor, which is supposed to be a gaming centric processor. We have to see about that. And finally, it even has a massive 4500 mAh battery, which is an upgrade from the previous Redmi Note 7 Pro. Now besides that, we also have some other specifications, IMEI numbers and so on. So for now, let's just skip ahead and go on with the unboxing. So guys, once we open the box, we have a cardboard box at the top, which probably has a SIM card ejector. There you have it. Next we have some documentation and a soft silicone pouch or case. So this is the soft silicone case that we get for the Redmi Note 8 Pro. Next we have the phone itself. Let me just put that aside. Next we have an 18-watt power adapter, and finally a USB Type-C charging cable. So guys, these are all the contents of the box. Now let me just put everything aside and come back to the phone. So this phone comes in this plastic cover, and let me just remove that. Now on the front we have a sticker. Let me just remove that as well. Even on the back we have some stickers. That's mainly SIM card information and IMEI numbers. By the way, this phone has 2 SIM card slots, one with a nano SIM and a dedicated SD card slot, and another SIM card tray with just a nano SIM slot. So this phone has 2 SIMs and a dedicated SD card slot option, so that's pretty great. And I guess out of all the 3 variants, the second variant is the best value for money, and that's gonna be great for most people. Top end variant with 8GB of RAM is just an overkill and overpriced. So this is how the phone looks on the back, and this is how it looks on the front. Honestly, I didn't see any videos on Redmi Note 8 and the Note 8 Pro. I've just unboxed the Note 8 and I thought Note 8 Pro will be pretty similar, but the entire design of the Note 8 Pro is completely different from the Note 8, and the Note 8 Pro looks and feels much more premium than the Note 8. Now let's have a physical overview. On the back, this phone has a 3D curved glass. It's from Corning. It's a Corning Gorilla Glass 5. At the center, it has a complete camera module with 3 cameras and a fingerprint scanner built into one, and the camera bump is pretty huge. Beside that, we have dual LED flash followed by another camera, which is probably used for depth sensing. Below the fingerprint scanner, we have an engraving that says 64MP AI Super Camera. Finally, at the bottom, we have the Redmi branding. Now on the front, we get that massive display with a dewdrop notch with a front camera inside it, and above the notch, we have the earpiece. Below the display, it's completely plain and the chin is quite small. There is no Redmi branding going on the front. Now for the sides, on the right side, it has the power and volume buttons. Seem to be made of metal. They have a nice clicky feel to them, and they are sufficiently elevated. At the top, we have the secondary microphone for noise cancellation, infrared blaster, and on the left side, we have 2 SIM card trays housing a nano SIM slot, along with a nano SIM and a dedicated SD card slot. Finally, at the bottom, we have the 3.5mm audio jack followed by the USB Type-C charging port, a hole for the primary microphone, and finally the speaker grill. Now this phone also has P2I liquid repellent nano coating technology. It's also IP52 certified, so it does offer some level of dust and water protection. Now finally, this phone has a thickness of 8.81 mm and weighs 200 grams. Now for some initial impressions, phone doesn't feel all that thick. especially because of that 3D curve on the sides. And as for the weight, it has a bit of weight to it but doesn't feel all that heavy. Weight distribution seems to be okay. And as for the back, it is super glossy, it is super smooth, super slippery, and as you could see, it already attracted a lot of smudges and it does look quite ugly. So now let's try out this case. Now this is how the phone looks with the case on. It doesn't offer any kind of protection for the display or the camera module. In fact, cameras are protruding slightly over the case, so when you place your phone directly on its back, cameras are exposed to the surface, and it has a slightly raised lip for the display, but even that is completely negligible. So this case is pretty useless. It can give you some extra grip and prevent smudges, but that's all. I suggest you to get a better case as soon as possible. Now these are the complete specifications. On the rear, this phone has a quad camera setup with a 64 megapixel primary camera with f1.79 aperture. That's the world's first 64 megapixel camera. It has a Samsung ISOCELL Bright G1 sensor. Next we have an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera with f2.2 aperture with 120-degree field of view. Next we have a 2 megapixel macro lens followed by a 2 megapixel depth sensor. For selfies, it has a 20 megapixel camera with f2.0 aperture. On the front, it is a 6.53-inch IPS display with Full HD Plus resolution with a dot notch with 500 nits of brightness and 91.4% screen-to-body ratio. This display is also HDR enabled. Under the hood, this phone sports a MediaTek Helio G90T processor with 2 Cortex A76 cores, 6 Cortex A55 cores, and with Mali G76 GPU. It also has 6GB of LPDDR4X RAM and 128GB of UFS 2.1 storage. It also comes with liquid cool technology and dual pyrolytic sheets. Right out of the box, it will be running MIUI 10 based on Android Pie, and by the end of December, it will receive MIUI 11 update. Finally powering this device is a 4500 mAh battery that supports fast charging and also comes with an 18-watt fast charger inside the box. So guys, these are the complete specifications. Now let me turn on the phone and set it up and come back to you in a second. So guys, this is how the phone looks once we turn it on. This is the default launcher, this is the default wallpaper. As usual, there is no app drawer, so all the apps are thrown onto the home screen. And on this phone, there is a new application over here. This is for Alexa that's built into the phone. So this is the default setup. There is a bit of bloatware, but not as much as some of the Redmi phones that I've just unboxed. So if there is any application that you don't use, just uninstall them as soon as possible. Now let's check the storage information. So guys, out of that 6GB of RAM, we get about 3.9GB of RAM free right out of the box. Now let's go to storage section. By the way, things have been moved around on this phone. So we can now see the storage information in my device, that's the about page. So out of that 128GB of storage, we get about 115GB of space for our user apps and user data. Right now this phone is running MIUI Global version 10.4 based on Android 9, that's Android Pie, with September security patch, which is pretty good. Now this is the camera interface for the rear camera. It looks pretty similar to Redmi Note 8. Over here we have the toggle to switch between the primary camera and the wide angle camera. By default it always opens up in 1x zoom, that's using the 64 megapixel primary camera. Now if you click this toggle once, it'll do a 2x zoom. This is a digital zoom, it's just like doing a pinch to zoom gesture. And if you click it again, it takes you to the wide angle camera. And as you can see, this camera is super wide. So this is the wide angle camera and this is 1x zoom. There's definitely a huge difference. Next we also have macro mode, and to enable it, you have to click over here. So this is the button. And now we can take macro shots as close as 2 centimeters. So that's pretty cool as well. Next we have a dedicated mode to take pictures in 64 megapixel resolution. Next we have portrait mode. Now on this phone we can also change the amount of background blur effect we want before taking a picture, and you also have studio lighting effects. Now this feature was missing on the Redmi Note 8. So these are the different studio lighting effects. Next we have a dedicated night mode to take better pictures in low lighting conditions. Next we have panorama, and finally pro mode. Now in this pro mode we can also take pictures in the default 64 megapixel resolution by using this toggle over here. And there you have it. Now if we go to the left side, we have video recording, and we can record video with the primary camera and even with the wide angle camera. With the primary camera, we can record video at a maximum of 4K resolution at 30 fps, 1080p at 60 fps and 1080p at 30 fps as well. There's no 4K at 60 fps on this phone. We can also record video using the wide angle camera, but only at a maximum of 1080p at 30 fps. So that's the setting. We also have electronic image stabilization on this phone, and if for some reason that's not working, you can enable it from here. This is the image stabilization. Next, we also have macro video, and to enable that you need to click over here. So that's macro video recording. Next we have short video, which just takes a short video. Next we have slow motion video recording, and on this phone we also have 960 fps slow-mo. So that's a new feature for a Redmi phone. So there you have it, that's the 960 fps. Now this is the interface for the front camera. By the way guys, I forgot to mention this phone has AI mode for both the front and rear cameras. So you can enable it from here. That's AI mode. So this is the front camera, and even for the front camera we have portrait mode, and even for portrait selfies we can change the amount of background blur effect you want before taking a picture. And we also have those studio lighting effects that I've just shown you earlier. Now for video recording, we can only record video at a maximum of 1080p at 30 fps using the front camera. And that's pretty much it. Now these are some sample shots taken with the front and rear cameras. Now let's test the speaker loudness. So guys, speaker on this phone is sufficiently loud for media consumption, ringtones and alarms. In terms of speaker loudness, it is not the loudest in the price segment, but it is pretty clear and sufficiently loud enough. Now let's test the fingerprint scanner. I've already set it up, so here we go. And that's super fast. Let me just try it for some more time. Fingerprint scanner on this phone is super fast, definitely faster than Redmi Note 8. And probably faster than Redmi Note 7 Pro as well. It is as fast as say Poco F1 and Oppo and Vivo phones, which are like super fast. So fingerprint scanner on this phone is super fast, almost comparable with the previous OnePlus phones, the one that had a regular fingerprint scanner. Now let's test the face unlock feature. Once again, I've already set it up, and here we go. Once again, face unlock also seems to be working really well. I'm still able to see the lock screen, but it's still pretty fast, almost comparable with the Oppo and Vivo phones. Now let's test it in low lighting conditions. Even in low lighting conditions, it is working and it is pretty fast. Now let's test it in complete darkness. So there are no lights in the room, so let's see if it works. In complete darkness, it is struggling, it's not working at all. Let me just come a bit closer. No, it's not working. Maybe it has got to do something with the lock screen wallpaper. It worked after a few seconds. So guys, in good lighting conditions and even in low lighting conditions, face unlock works really well. It is super fast, but in complete darkness, it's more of a hit or a miss. It might take even longer, even if it works. Anyway, we also have a super fast fingerprint scanner, so I'd rather use that. Now let me show you a few new things that I found on this phone. First we have digital well-being. That's a feature from Google where you can track your usage and see how you're using your phone, limit your usage, and you also get a feature called wind down that will help you sleep faster at night. It will automatically enable do not disturb mode and grayscale mode to make your phone black and white to hint you to sleep early. So this is the grayscale mode and it does look pretty cool. So that's the major change. Beside that, I've also found something new called special features. Inside that we have Game Turbo, which is supposed to improve the gaming experience. Next we have quick replies for some of these applications. And as you can see, some of the settings have been rearranged. There's no full screen display in these settings. You can find it from additional settings. Over here, full screen display, and for gestures, you can enable it from here. Now we can use the gestures. Now before I conclude, these are the Antutu and Geekbench scores. So guys, this is the Redmi Note 8 Pro. Probably the best Pro series phone Redmi has ever launched. Especially in terms of design and build, it feels like a premium phone. In fact, it feels more like a OnePlus phone, especially the OnePlus 660 I guess, because of that curved back and the shiny look it has. So in terms of design and build, it's definitely a notch higher than all the previous Redmi phones, and you can really call this as a premium phone, and it really gives you that premium look and feel, which is pretty rare to find in a Redmi phone. Especially when you compare it with the Redmi Note 8, design and build of this phone is definitely way better. Now for the cameras, they are definitely improved from the Redmi Note 7 Pro, and you're also getting a new camera for the macro mode, and it does take some pretty good looking macro shots. So far in my usage, everything was running pretty smoothly. I didn't play any games, so I can't comment about the performance. So stay tuned for my gaming review for more information on that. Even in terms of display, Redmi has outdone itself. Bezels are quite small all around, especially this chin is really small. Xiaomi says this display is also HDR enabled. Well, we have to see about that. So guys, this is definitely the best phone that you can get under 15,000 rupees. Right now you also have many better alternatives like the Realme X, Realme XT. Well, they are good phones, they have an in-display fingerprint scanner, AMOLED display. All that's pretty great, but software interface on those phones is not that great. And when compared to those phones, this phone is now looking more premium, and software experience has always been pretty good on Xiaomi phones. So overall, if you're looking for a well-balanced experience, you can definitely buy this phone. So guys, what do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. If you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with the hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.